On today's program, we're going to talk about the court ruling recently made in Louisiana off of the Colorado court ruling with a couple of wrinkles. We'll break down what's going on in the courts themselves. I'm trying to make sense of it, wrap my little old brain around it. A lot of this stuff is, what did Matthew McConaughey say in Wolf of Wall Street? Above the shoulders mustard shit. So we'll try to get into it a little bit, the dynamics of the court case, what's going on with each of these players, and kind of try to track it back to a couple of weeks ago where we started seeing some Indiana guys from the team last year trickle back onto rosters. That was based off of a Colorado court ruling. It basically stated guys in the class of 2023 or later are able to get 5 years of eligibility. Guys from the 2022 class did not get that same treatment. And so they granted the 2022 guys with an extra year of eligibility. That's when you started seeing some of those headlines. Indiana guys coming back, notably. I'm sure there were others. But these were guys that did not have a chance to make NFL rosters. They were not in NFL camps. The difference now, and the reason we're talking about this today, is that there was a court ruling in Louisiana that happened, I guess, 24 hours ago, a day or two ago, that listed 16 college football guys, in particular former college football guys, two of these 16 are participating in NFL camps right now. Former LSU edge Jack Pyburn is in camp with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. Guy had 2 sacks in a preseason game against the Jets the other night. And then you got tight end Daquan Wright out of Ole Miss participating in Cleveland Browns camp. None of these other guys of the 16 players listed in the new Louisiana case, other than those two, seem to be participating with NFL teams right now. But the Louisiana case added some wrinkles to the Colorado case. They're going off of each other. So in the Colorado case, a couple of rules still remained. The first one being that if you sign a contract with an NFL team or a professional team, that you cannot return to college. That was overruled in the Louisiana injunction. Okay. The second one, or the second rule that existed in the Colorado case, was that a guy had to go back to his former school. The transfer portal is closed, as we know. It's not open in the spring, summer anymore. So those were the two rules. If you went pro, you can't come back. And if you decide to come back, you can't enter the portal because it's too late. Well, the Louisiana injunction has changed that. The Louisiana injunction says that, number one, you can return to college even if you've been with an NFL team, if you're a part of this list of these 16 guys for some reason. I don't know why these 16 guys in particular were listed. As 3 former Ole Miss guys, 1 former LSU guy, a former SMU guy, Oregon State, James Madison. $14 of these 16 guys don't seem to be participating in NFL camps. Everybody's reacting very strongly to this online today. Everybody's saying, this is BS. What happened to my game? What's going on with the integrity of my sport? You're going to have 25-year-olds playing against 18-year-olds and this, that, and the third. I think it's good. I think it's okay. I'm good with it. Guys get as many opportunities as they could possibly want. I mean, hell, 4 or 5 years ago, the same guys that were bitching and moaning online that players didn't have enough autonomy, that they don't have enough options, players always getting screwed, are the same ones hooting and hollering today about this court injunction out of Louisiana. And people say, the integrity of the sport is ruined. You can't go pro and then come back. It's just all based on what we've been conditioned to know about college football, which has obviously all changed. I'll tell you what the reality of the situation is that the NCAA and their basically unspoken antitrust exemption for all these years, the chickens are coming home to roost legally. NCAA is losing case after case because of the way they've operated for decades and decades. The profit that the guys up in the C-suite saw basically off of free labor. And the courts aren't looking upon it too kindly. Poor Joey Aguilar, the former Tennessee quarterback, the only guy that couldn't win a damn court case against the NCAA, it seems like. So the chickens are coming home to roost with this antitrust stuff. The NCAA can't catch a break. And these guys, I guess the legal terminology for it is that they have a restraining order against the NCAA now, which means they can play for whatever reason. So I think the part of this conversation that really matters are the two guys that are in NFL training camps right now. The NFL roster cut down date from 90 men to 53 men occurs on August 30th this year. That's in 10 days. So these guys with NFL rosters, the only way that I feasibly see them returning to college to play football is if they are cut in the next 10 days by their NFL team. Again, Jack Pyburn, the former LSU edge, 2 sacks the other night in the preseason game. Sounds like he's performing well. Daquan Wright, I'm not too sure how he's doing in Browns camp. Let's say these guys let's say both these guys make their teams. The only negative implication I could see from this going down would be if a guy made an NFL team and then decided to go back to college. It's not going to work out well for a guy if he does that. I'll tell you exactly why. It would be a clear money grab. No secret that the average starter in college football, maybe not even starter, average exemplary player in college football, let's say, makes more money as a college football player than you would on a rookie contract in the NFL. Trinidad Campbell's a good example. He's probably one of the highest earners in college football this year. The guy is making more money than 250 out of 257 guys from this year's draft class. Around $6 million, I believe, Trinidad Campbell's slated to make. Severe example, again, one of the highest paid guys in college football. But I think it paints a picture of what it looks like on the macro to earn as a college football player as opposed to a guy pursuing the NFL and taking that rookie contract for the first 4 years. It would be a bad, bad look for one of these two guys to make an NFL team and then say, you know what, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to make more money there, and the competition will be a little easier. The way NFL scouts and personnel evaluators and coaches would look at that would probably be a kiss of death to either of these guys ever making it in the NFL. They chose to go back to school after making an NFL team. It would be a kiss of death. They would. I think they would be relatively untouchable in the eyes of NFL scouts, because these NFL teams, they want real competitors. They want guys who are striving to be the best version of themselves. And if you make an NFL team, why would you not want to push yourself against the best competition in the world, become the best football player you can be? Say, no, I'm going to go back to school and make some more money and kind of, stun on these guys one more time. I don't think that's the likely outcome. I don't know. It sounds like Jack Pyburn is slated to make the roster in Tampa Bay. I don't know what their D-line room looks like or how stacked they are. But what I was thinking about earlier was the precedent that all of these lost court cases by the NCAA might make for future cases. Let's take either of these two guys that are in NFL camps that could return to college if they wanted. Let's take either of these guys. Let's say they make their roster this year. They make the 53-man roster. And they go through camp. And they go through the season. Maybe they don't make the most impact with their NFL roster. And God forbid, let's say by next year, they're back in limbo again, and their uncertainty in the NFL is unclear. What's stopping a guy in that situation from lawyering up again and saying, hey, you know what? I want that year of eligibility back. I'm coming back to college to get some more film on the board. What's stopping that from happening? The NCAA is more legally vulnerable than ever before because, like I said, chickens are coming home to roost with this antitrust bullshit. Hey, you can go back to Walter Byers in the 70s and 80s. I know for a fact that Walter Byers is one of the most brilliant people that has existed in the college sports space. He knew what he was doing, labeling these kids as amateurs, student athletes. Decades and decades and decades of profit on free labor. They knew what they were doing. And now, unfortunately for the NCAA, chickens are coming home to roost. They're more legally vulnerable than ever. Anybody except Joey Aguilar, former Tennessee quarterback, is feeling like they can win a court case against the NCAA because, let's call it a buck, morally and ethically, the NCAA doesn't have much to stand on anymore. And instead of just throw their hands up, take accountability, and say, you know what, as the NCAA, you know what, we've been wrong all these years. We've been wrong all these years, and we're willing. We know that things are changing. We're willing to go with the flow here. No, they're not doing that. They're digging their heels in even further, and it's hurting them. It has hurt them, continues to hurt them in a way that I'm not so sure that even the NCAA is aware of yet. Clearly they ain't, or else they wouldn't keep behaving like this. But, it just goes back to certain generations that are running things, man. Certain generations just seem more out of touch than others. A lot of old farts up top, calling shots just because they've been there for a long time. And we're not going to stand down. My name's Bill, and I got something to say. Kind of people like that. It sounds like running the NCAA. But on the whole, man, like unless one of these guys, really one of these two guys, you got 16 guys mentioned in this Louisiana injunction. 14 of them seem like they don't have a chance to play pro ball. They will have a week from now, I believe, to enter the portal and find a new school. Because part of the reason for this, I don't even know what the legal term is, but the difference between the Louisiana case, Louisiana injunction, I don't even know the words, man. The Colorado injunction that included all those guys from a couple weeks ago, they couldn't enter the portal. But the NCAA's argument now for these 16 guys is it's so late in the game, in camp, we're so close to the season, that those guys' former schools might not have any spots left. That's our article today about a kid from the University of Georgia. His last name's Steer. I think he was like a backup receiver, but a huge factor on special teams. I think he blocked a punt against Bama in the SEC championship game. You know, Kirby's having conversations with the media and with folks at Georgia internally about how they can maybe get guys like that back into the program. But it's tricky because as any guy who's participated in football at a higher level knows, at this point in the year, you know what you got. You got to cap rosters at 105 players, the most you can have. Most programs are sitting around that, if not at that. So even though you might have guys out there like this Steer kid for Georgia floating out there, you're either going to have to tell him no, or you're going to have to cut some of your bottom guys to make space for that. And what a heartbreaking thing that would be. I don't know if I ever experienced my time as a college player, experienced a guy get cut for a non-disciplinary reason, especially this late in camp. So outside of the 16 guys that were mentioned in this Louisiana injunction, majority of guys who are not in NFL camps, not with college football teams right now from the Class 22 granted eligibility, have to go to their former school. And the problem is that a lot of these former schools, like the Georgia case we mentioned, don't have space on their rosters. It's capped at 105. So that's what this Louisiana injunction changed. Again, just for 16 guys mentioned in the case. They have a week to enter the portal, so I would imagine that old Jack Pyburn's going to stay in camp with the Bucks. Old Daquan Wright's going to stay in camp with the Browns. By the time the NFL cut-down date occurs in 10 days, August 30th, the week for them to enter the portal is over. So Wright would probably have to return to Ole Miss. Pyburn would probably have to return to LSU if they don't make their NFL rosters. Again, not a probability, but a possibility that either of these guys makes their teams in NFL and still decides to go back to college. Again, I think that would be a death punch to their pro prospects long term. But you don't know where these kids' heads are at. A lot of them, it's the lower part of human nature, but you see a lot more money to be made in a year or whatever, and sometimes you make short-term decisions. Anyways, the thing about it is, guys, the reality is that we're probably going to forget this freaking happened by October or November. Unless one of these guys happens to be a giant piece of a national championship contending program. Let's say Pyburn returns LSU and LSU makes this crazy run and Pyburn's a huge part of it. Then we'll be talking about this. Oh, this guy had an NFL roster spot and came back. Okay. What does that look like? I mean, that would be a big deal. Same with Wright. Let's say Wright returned to Ole Miss. Ole Miss goes on a championship run, and he's a huge part of it. Okay, we're talking about this. But other than those specific, potentially improbable situations, we forget this has even happened by August or November. And you got folks on Twitter today, I can't believe this. This is an insult to the integrity of the game. It's just outrage for its own sake. Everyone's overreacting. Everyone knows that the college football and the NFL are going to be absolute cinema this year. Nobody's going to be complaining about a damn court case when it's 4th and 3 on the opponent's 20 in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left, down 4 with a playoff spot on the line. Nobody's going to care about this. We're in the dog days, man. I mean, making this stuff on a daily basis since the Super Bowl happened back in February, it's not the easiest thing. Sometimes we got to talk about Joe Burrow bleaching his hair or whatever. Hearing great things from Bengals joint practice with the Bears today, specifically about the Bengals defense. Bengals offense apparently struggling a little bit. But everybody's overreacting to this, man. Everybody, one ringleader, oh, I can't believe the state of our college football. And then everybody, little minions follows. Everybody's just overreacting. It's cool. I'm okay with this. I don't think this is going to go to the places that people seem to be hypothesizing they could go. But again, we just did that for the last 20 minutes. So it's real simple. Either these guys make their teams, they go on their way, this becomes irrelevant, or they don't make the teams, they go back to college, and in reality, it's 2 guys out of how many? So it's not that big of a deal. We're making a big fuss out of it. The macro point of all this is that the NCAA is very legally vulnerable right now. Anybody that wants to pursue a court case with them seems likely to win. And the chickens are coming home to roost. You're going to have to get Congress involved. The problem with Congress is that they are the opposite of progress. So that's where we are. Again, I think it's fine. Everybody's kind of overreacting.